Go ahead, Francesca.
Okay. That's a tough act to follow there. Thank you for inviting members of the people, of the public. On the internet, this is being called the People's Filibuster. My name is Francesca Scalzo. I'm a freelance book editor. I'm a tenant. I've lived in Toronto all my life. I'm a pedestrian, a TTC user, and I don't own a car. What I've come here to talk to you about is tenants. When there was talk about options for homes earlier, I was interested in that, and I'm sure that my councillor, Ward, misspoke when he said that congratulated one of the speakers on becoming a taxpayer, because tenants are taxpayers. And in fact, I'm sure the councillors here are aware, tenants, I'm a little nervous, I don't do this very often. Thank you. Tenants are, in fact, rather special taxpayers because we pay a higher rate than homeowners. I've heard several numbers. I've heard 2.5 to 4 times the amount, which means that in my apartment, which is a little one-bedroom, if it were valued at $100,000, I have no idea, I'd be paying the same amount of rent as someone who lives in a $250,000 or $400,000 house. So we are special, we tenants. Maybe you don't want to reduce the proportion of tenants and homeowners in the city. Most tenants don't realize that they pay higher taxes than homeowners because it's hidden. We don't get a separate bill. We pay through our rent, and the province estimates that up to 20% of rent can go directly to property taxes. So this is unfair, and it is acknowledged that it's unfair. It stays the same. There have been some attempts to change it a little bit. Could I have attention, please? Thank you. There's been some attempts to reduce the inequity. Last year, they've lowered the rate for tenants a bit. I think my rent went down by $5 a month last year. Now, this is unfair. It is acknowledged that it's unfair. Now, we can look at it 2 ways. One, you can look at it as that tenants, by paying the higher rates, are subsidizing homeowners who are paying the lower rate. Now, I don't want to be divisive here, because the city is about half and half owners and renters. So we could look at it, prefer to look at it, just a minute, just 1 sec, that tenants are paying more than their fair share.
Okay, thank you very much. Question, Councillor Carroll.
Do you have an idea how we might address this inequity?
Well, I'd kind of like to see homeowners pay more. I think that they should pay the same, frankly. I think ideologically, I don't think that there is a spending problem here. I agree with many other people here and who've spoken before. I think we have a revenue problem. And I think that the property tax and the type of taxation that municipalities are forced to deal with is ridiculous in the 21st century. And that if people here were leaders, they'd be going to the province, go to Ottawa, change the governance system. We've got 18th century governance in a 21st century city.
Thank you very much. Councillor Davis has a question of you.
Are you aware that we have a small fund here called the Tenant Defense Fund that helps tenant groups to actually fight above guideline rent increases and actually fight if their landlord refuses to give them their rent rebate as a result of Are you aware we cut it this year significantly?
Pardon me?
Are you aware that we cut the Tenant Defense Fund this year?
No, I didn't know that.
Are you aware that we now no longer have any funding available for probably close to 200 tenant associations that have had above guideline rent increases?
No, I wasn't aware of that. I'm not sure I use the Tenant Defense Fund. I certainly use the Federation of Metro Tenants Associations
111.
for advice when we fought an above guideline increase about 10 years ago.
And if you had not had access to the funds and the assistance of the Federation of Metro Tenants Association, do you think that you would have been able to fight for your rights against your landlord?
I'm a pretty tenacious person. Dan McIntyre was fabulous. Everybody at the FMTA was fabulous. Great information. It would have been much more difficult.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Sorry. I went 13 seconds over. I'm being nice.
Are there more
Okay,
questions?
any other
Am I
questions?
done?
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next one, 111, Amber Cullen.
She's not here.
Okay, Amber Cullen. Antoinette Davis,
That would be me.
that's you?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Executive Committee today. My name is Antoinette Davis, and I'm the Coordinator of Community Initiatives for the John Howard Society of Toronto. Our agency is a nonprofit organization that works with men who are in conflict with the law, who have a history of incarceration, and those who are at imminent risk of coming into conflict with our legal system. Generally, when people think about community safety, they think of surveillance, enforcement, and detention. However, when we think about community safety, we consider the provision of social services and programs. Further, we would like to explain our concerns pertaining to potential service cuts in response to the city's core service review. To begin, it is important to understand that we work with a very marginalized group of Torontonians, many of whom have been victims of violence themselves. Others come from and plan to return to communities within the city that have been deemed priority areas. While accomplishments related to program and service enhancements throughout these neighborhoods in recent years have been significant, the preservation of outcomes resulting from this work must be maintained through the provision of ongoing investments. In addition, recent research findings show that 1 out of every 3 homeless people in Toronto has come directly from the correctional system. Many of the people who we work with are released from jail or court with no notice, with very few plans in place and limited options to explore. The moments, days, and weeks following their custodial release are integral. It is during this time that ex-prisoners make the kind of life decisions that can lead them to a new beginning or back to the same kind of trouble that resulted in their incarceration in the first place. The types of crisis that can easily manifest upon one's release from jail often result in reliance on emergency services, including hospitals and policing. The costs associated with these measures are exorbitant, but can be avoided. In fact, every person that we keep from reoffending, by definition, makes Toronto safer and saves police, emergency services, court, and institutional costs. Enhancing community safety and decreasing the likelihood of reoffending can be achieved by providing necessary resources within our shelter system, increasing access to safe and affordable housing, supporting food security programs, addiction services, and employment-related programs, to name a few. We ask that you take into account the concerns and suggestions outlined in this deputation when considering the city's core service review and consequential service cuts. We would gladly provide any information that may be of use to you going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question. Councillor Mahavik, you have a minute. Councillor Swan.
Thank you. Do you have any data that shows how much savings there is from providing these services that we fund as a city for the hospital sector, for the criminal justice sector, and so on?
Actually, we do. I don't have it presently.
Do you have any ballpark order of magnitude numbers?
No, but I would be able to supply you
Great,
with
thank
that.
you. Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Vaughn, 1 minute.
I'm curious if you read the KPMG report that talks about removing the community grants, but also sustaining police funding. I'm curious as to what you think the impact on the police budget would be if we remove those community grants that provide support to your organization.
Well, we do get some of our funding from the city and a bit from the provincial government, certainly nothing from the federal government. And we do work closely with the police, but it would definitely be detrimental. I mean, a report was released last year that was done with U of T, and a high percentage of the guys who are out of prison are homeless. So certainly it would have a detrimental effect if these programs and services were cut.
And are you surprised that KPMG didn't correlate or trace the impact of preventative programs as a way of saving money on our core services, which they say we can't cut?
A bit surprised, yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Any other questions? Seeing none. John Raitt. Next deputant, John Raitt. John? You have 3 minutes.
I'm going to preface my statement by saying I'm here as a private citizen and a small business owner. My name is John Raitt, and I was born and raised in Toronto. In my lifetime, I have been a competitive athlete with city, provincial, national, and a world title to my credit. I have worked in the entertainment industry for over 30 years and currently own and operate a small fine art gallery in Leslieville. At 57 years of age, I am old enough to have experienced the civil rights movement, the anti-Vietnam War movement, and the gay rights movement all firsthand. I am proud of the city that Toronto has become, but have no false illusions of where we truly are in regards to racism, homophobia, and intolerance of others. I have worked my entire lifetime in the arts, which has always been underfunded when judged against their true contribution to our lives in this city. Mayor Ford, I voted for you based on your support of a thorough evaluation of the proposed LRV facility to be located at Leslie and Lakeshore. You are well aware of my community's concerns about this location and have done nothing since taking office. I have attended TTC meetings to watch councillor Stintz and the current executive waive off an overage of $31 million for removing existing infrastructure on a project that has not yet begun, as if it were chump change. It appears that councillor Stintz has been drinking the TTC Kool-Aid. It appears that politics is taking precedent over facts in this issue. Councillor McMahon proposed retrofitting existing TTC properties with a potential savings of over $200 million, and this was cursorily dismissed. If you are looking for savings, I suggest you start with this showboat of a building that is truly unnecessary and damaging to the exciting and developing community of Leslieville. And I will add that Leslieville has happened organically and without any input from this city. I would like to offer this report as a support of my statements. It examines the LRV site and offers full details of the potential to retrofit existing structures to accommodate the new fleet of vehicles. I encourage you to listen to the voices you hear today and not just from those small-minded individuals who want to turn back time. Stopping the gravy train should not mean the end to civility. Tightening our belt at such a high cost to others is not the Canadian way. I urge you to keep in mind that so many of us have fought so hard to get us here. I am personally happy to pay a higher tax rate in order to support the arts and compassionate support for those Torontonians in need. That is what my Toronto is all about. Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, sir.
Who would I give my report to, Mayor?
Clerk.
Thank you.